Hey, and welcome back to another video of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. Today, I am here in Central Park, once again coming from Wonder of the Seas, the amazing ship here, Royal Caribbean. And today I wanted to just mention a couple of things in terms of shooting footage on board a cruise ship. I've done a few other videos like, shooting videos in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip and so forth. So today I have my setup here using the iPhone here to bring you this video, and I'm just shooting with normal audio coming from the camera. It's not too loud. There are some bird sounds, but I got away from all of the parts of the ship that had DJs and the World's Sexiest Man contest and bingo and just looping, playing music. That is great when you're a guest, but if you're trying to record something and particularly do a dialogue or an audio take on top of it, it can be very difficult. And that's why a lot of my videos I've recommended to do post-production audio, where you could take stills or video and just simply put that in the Final Cut or whatever, and do your voiceover audio, because you're going to be able to control the conditions of audio a lot better there, of course, with the microphone, and you're not going to have all this ambient sound. And maybe most importantly, I've said in the Las Vegas Strip, and it certainly applies here, if there's a copyrighted song that seeps into your audio, depending on the algorithms on YouTube or your other favorite video sites, social media sites, I think generally allow you to get away with that. But certainly YouTube will detect that and do a copyright strike, or force you to monetize it, even if you're not monetizing on your channel. So, the audio track, I think, is something that, regardless of the particular space you might be researching and recording in, is always going to be an issue, just because of all that ambient sound and crowd noise and all the like. So, but the second issue, I think that's a little more specific to these types of spaces, where a lot of it I'm indoors. Right now I'm outdoors. So, certainly your white balance and your exposure and some of that stuff, if you're not doing auto settings, you think about as you transition from outdoor spaces to in, and vice versa. But one of the things I discovered here aboard the Wonder of the Seas, and it's nothing about Wonder or any cruise ship specifically, but it's related to LED lights. And LED lights can cause flickering on your camera. The thing I'm doing is, in addition to using the iPhone, I'm also using the Osmo Pocket here. Actually, this is not the Osmo Pocket. I have an Osmo Pocket. I'm actually using the Action 2 camera, which is really low cost. It came out a few years ago, but it's really useful, and it does a lot with its magnetic clips, whether it's the strap here that attaches on, or you could put this on a tripod, or even a head mount if you wanted to do an action mount. But what's cool about this camera is it allows you to get a lot of footage in a very easy way, and you don't have to worry about maybe being obvious with your footage or whatever. So it's one of the things I like about it versus using the iPhone here that I'm typically using. One of the things you're going to note on board a cruise ship, like maybe theme parks, shopping malls tend to be most restrictive, is some areas of the ship, they're going to tell you they don't allow for video footage. It's pretty minimal as far as those spaces. I'm going on a bridge tour coming up tomorrow, and I know for that they said no video is allowed, but you can do still photography. So that's pretty reasonable. Sometimes they just don't want operations being videotaped for a variety of reasons. If ever I've done backstage tours in theme parks of like proprietary ride operation stuff, they might also say no video or no still photography. So pretty much on board the ship, they're not going to let you, like in any casino, take video or photography in, say, around the table games or something of that nature. But pretty much everything else seems to be fair game. At the ice show last night, they said no strobe lighting. So I don't know too many people who bring a massive strobe light setup to their vacations or to their research trips and so forth. So, that is kind of obvious. But the thing then that came up for me today that I just wanted to mention to you is this issue of the LED lights. So a lot of these interior spaces, like our offices, now use lights that are LED based, and so those can cause flicker. There's different hertz ratings of these lights I was reading about. So depending on where you are, you might get a different frequency of the light, and thus like a different flashing. So one thing you can do, which I tried today, and I'll tell you about in a second here, was I took my Action 2 camera, and I just went on the settings, and what I simply did was I changed the frame rate. I first tried it at 1080 HP, shooting at 30 frames per second. That I got a lot of flickering, particularly walking in the hallways, cabins, and those kind of areas. And then I tried it at 60 frames per second. Same thing, I got a lot of flickering. When I switched it to 50 frames per second, and I'm thinking to myself, 30 is a multiple in 60, 2 times 30 is 60, so maybe just the particular frequency of the lights that are going and flashing on the camera, and you'll actually see it. So you'll see it on your, depending on your camera, right, you'll see it on the viewfinder, and you'll see a flashing going on. So generally, it's really easy to tell that you're having an issue, and you can then adjust your frame rate, maybe test it in the space you're at, and then hopefully do your footage. This is another thing, actually. So check this out. I don't know if you can see that, but we are getting a device heating overload. So this is actually good. I mean, it's not good, but it's good that this is happening spontaneously. So I'm going to turn the camera off because what's going on now, this particular camera gets really hot, and even with the thermal case, which is supposed to reduce some of that, it gets mega hot. And just like your phone, what happens is when you are shooting in an outdoor space where you have a lot of heat or light, because it's in the light, the heat, I'm going to put it in the shade here, hopefully it's going to cool down and I could do some more footage. So, that's one of the things that comes up with shooting with some cameras is getting overheated, just like your phone will get overheated, your iPhone. If you put it out in the sun for too long, it's going to shut off and so forth. So that has happened certainly with my DJI. I love their cameras, but like any device, that could happen in the conditions in which you're shooting. So what I did was I put it to 50 frames per second, kept it at 1080 HP, which I'm typically shooting in, and then it was fine. So the flicker was good. It disappeared in the cabin room, and I'm going to show you some of this I guess as I'm talking over it, and you'll see. So then the interesting thing was I stepped out in the hallway, same frame rate, 50 frames per second, and lo and behold, it started doing the flickering, but a different type of flickering. It's more like shaking, and I think what's going on is with this particular camera, and by the way, boy, it's super hot, as people have said about this camera, so it's like really hot to touch almost. So, but what happens with this camera, which is great, is while you have it on any of the magnetic mounts and you're moving a lot, it actually does a steady shot. So it interpolates and it will stabilize your camera footage, which is wonderful. Now, in this particular case, in this hallway, which has a combination of the LED lights and some really dark paneled walls, as I'll show you with my iPhone footage in either this video or another one, the Osmo here, or the Action 2, failed miserably. It just couldn't stabilize the footage. And so I think it's maybe because a combination of that lighting, even though I had it at 50 frames per second, it's just not able to track and figure out in the various frames kind of the consistency, the continuity of image from movement in a space from one space to the next. And so that's pretty frustrating. So I did another pass with my iPhone, and another tip I recommend you do is try to take your footage back to your room or wherever you're staying and look at it, download it from the SD card. If it's on your iPhone, you could look at it very easily on your screen and just make sure your footage is good or not. What I did was I made a list today based on the spaces, including the art gallery, and unfortunately they're removing the paintings away, so I might have to use some of the bad footage. But you can do that, make a check of the footage and see exactly what needs to be improved or not, and then go back and hopefully reshoot it with the new technical conditions that you've established or changed on your phone, smartphone device, your DJI, whatever you happen to be shooting with. So that's a little bit frustrating, and sometimes, I like to say I have two cameras with me because cameras operate in different ways, different technologies, stabilization, lighting, exposure, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it behooves you to bring a second camera along, either as a backup to make footage. I did this at the World Expo in Milan because, I'm shooting stuff that in 6 months will literally be gone because it is, such a short time frame. So sometimes it's important to have that redundancy. Sometimes it's important to have a different device that can handle different conditions. If you're moving through a space, you definitely want to think about either during or post stabilization, because if you're bobbing along on your different axes, your X, Y, Z, whatever, moving up and down stairs, you're going to need stabilization. I haven't had the best luck with post stabilization on Final Cut. It takes a long time, and I'm just not happy always with the footage, but you know, it's kind of up to you as far as how you want to handle some of those dynamics. But for me, it's very important to try to really think on site about the different shooting conditions, and then hopefully being able to adapt to them. Again, this whole flickering of LED lights and then the condition in the hallway, trying to get footage of the hallway was really hard to do, so I had to rely on the iPhone to do that, and hopefully we'll see after the fact that the footage is okay. It might be a little bit shaky, but it's better than super annoying flickering footage as you saw in this particular video that was coming from the Action 2. And I think what I'll do here in a second, if it's cooled down, it feels a little cooler to touch, is I'll try to shoot some more footage, because hopefully I could take advantage of it. Again, if you're shooting in outdoor hot conditions, sunny conditions, you're gonna probably run into some of those impacts. So those are just some tips and issues that I noted here aboard on Wonder of the Seas, trying to get some good footage and do some of these videos. Whether you're shooting on site, just doing an iPhone thing for your YouTube channel, or doing something higher level and more professional, it's always important to think about the conditions. It's always important to think about the unique challenges. Again, access to certain spaces in a particular venue that you might be shooting, to make sure you have the ability to do what you need to do during your trip, and then after your trip as you're doing post-production stuff. Just as I'm saying that, we are getting a band playing. Okay, so had I been here 10 minutes later, I would be struggling with that, because I'm trying to do a live narration and a band is playing. So that's always a constant reminder for you to think about the conditions and whether or not drums and music playing. Mission Impossible theme, there you go. I'm sure that's going to get a copyright strike if I don't stop talking. So we're going to stop talking, and please come back for additional videos here about various aspects of themed and immersive spaces. And I appreciate, as always, you listening to my channel.